So I'm going to do a video on operations on complex numbers. I want to make a couple of things very clear. You can do all sorts of things on complex numbers. For example, you can still distribute the way you normally do, and you'd get 6 minus 12i, and that's perfectly legal. You can even distribute, um, oops, you can even distribute, well, let's make this 4i. Let's make it negative 4i plus 2i. And when you do that, you get negative 12i minus 8i squared. But remember, I squared equals negative 1. So this is going to become negative 12i minus 8 times the negative 1. And I'm going to say that's going to become a positive 8 minus 12i. I'm going to write it like this because remember, that's my real component. That's my imaginary component. I like to make my eyes with a little tail. But in order to do some basic operations such as addition and subtraction, it's actually really quite easy. And here's the basic rule. If I had a plus bi plus c plus di, I would add the real parts, and I would add the imaginary values. That's it. So if I had 6 plus 2i plus 4 plus, well, let's make that minus, sure, minus 3i, oops, I would end up with, I'd add the real parts and get 6 plus 4, which is 10. Combine the imaginary parts, 2i minus 3i is minus I. If I want to subtract, I would do something like 4 minus 5i minus 3 minus 7i. And you have to be careful. It's going to be 4 minus 3, which is 1. And negative 5 minus a negative 7. Minus a negative makes that positive because I have to distribute that negative sign to both the 3 and the 7i. So it's going to be negative 5i plus 7i, which is plus 2i. That's it. Now, multiplying gets a little bit trickier. Multiplying gets a little bit trickier, but it's not really that bad. And like I said, as long as you, especially if you remember this fact. Here we go. Let's say I had something like 4 plus 3i times negative 2 minus 5i. Well, all you have to do is distribute. So I get a negative 8, or FOIL rather, minus 20i minus 6i. So I'm going to write my terms like that. And then minus 15i squared, negative 8 minus 26i minus 15 times a negative 1, because I squared equals negative 1. So it's going to become a positive 15. So it's going to be negative 8 and a positive 15, which is 7 minus 26i. That's it. I'll do one more for you because I'm a nice guy. It's like, well, no, I'm not. Sorry about that. Because I did want to do one where we divide. And I just wanted to see if there's a good example. Oh yeah, here's a good example. 6 minus 2i over the square root of negative 16. Well, I'm going to do this as 6 minus 2i, and square root of negative 16 is negative 1 times 16, which gives me 4i. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply by negative 4i. And you're going to see why in a moment. So when I do that, this is going to become negative 24i plus 8i squared over negative 16i squared. Now you might say, well, that seems ridiculous, but it's not really, because remember, I squared equals negative 1. So this It's going to become 8 times negative 1, which is negative 8. That's going to remain the same. But this is going to become negative 1, which means this is going to become a positive 16. I can now simplify that, divide out 8, well, become negative 1 minus 3I over 2. I'm going to do one last one, division-wise. That was a pretty crazy question. And these are actually probably my favorite types of questions. 9I over, well, let's say I have 4 plus 9I over negative 2 minus 6I. And I want you to remember that if you had a plus b times a minus b, you end up with a squared minus b squared. So I'm going to actually multiply by negative 2 plus 6I. Oh no, my daughter's awake. So when I do that, I'm going to have to FOIL. I get negative 8 plus 24I minus 18I plus 54I squared. My wife's getting up with her. Don't think I'm a neglectful parent. When I do this, I'm going to get negative 2 times negative 2, which is 4. That's going to be negative 12I, and that's going to be positive 12I. So those two terms are going to cancel out. And I get negative 36I squared. But remember, I squared is negative 1, so this is going to become, this right here is a 54I squared. So that's going to become negative 54 and a negative 8, which is a negative 62. This is 24I minus 18I, which is a positive 6I. And then down here I get 4 minus 36I squared, but this I squared becomes a negative 1, and that's going to become a positive, so it's going to be 4 plus 36, which is 40. I can divide everything by 2, and I get negative 31 plus 3I over 20. Wow. Love it. Enjoy.